My friend Danny Fenster is an American journalist who's been detained in Myanmar by their military and has been held for over 100 days without due process and without actually being charged with a crime. Please check out the hashtag #BringDannyHome or go to bringdannyhome.com for more information. Please consider signing the petition and sharing Danny's story.
Welcome to Galaxy Tenants Burning Man Chronicles Chapter 7. Today we head into the Multiverse for a conversation with Doug Jacobson and Athena Demos of BRCVR, and we feature Keep On and Colossus Fakes the Funk by Textiles.
I am joined today by Athena Demos and Doug Jacobson of BRCVR, one of the official Burning Man multiverses. How are you guys?
We're doing well.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited about Burn Week. You know, it always is a special time of the year, even when it's weird. But thanks to you guys, you've made this experience that I can feel some connection to Burning Man in some way. I mean, it's not the perfect overlay, but there are moments that I have there. I'm just like, this is a very Burning Man moment, and you guys have helped to make that possible. So let me start by thanking you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
And before we get started, I actually have a question for you, because I like to ask people this question. But what is that quintessential playa moment that you've had in BRCVR?
So there's been a bunch of them. I can name just a couple really quickly. One moment was on Gate Road at the gates of BRCVR, and Mark Day wandered over. And, of course, in his Scottish accent, rambling about Burning Man. And, I've watched his videos for years. And so it's a very cool moment to have him wander over. And now I can't shake him. But another cool moment is I met a gentleman who runs a radio station, and he interviewed me at the gates. And now a year later. Yeah. And now a year later, I'm doing radio broadcasts almost every weekend with him. So to me, those were very Burning Man moments that have affected my life. I want to start by talking about your backgrounds in connection to Burning Man, and then we'll connect the dots all the way up to where we are now at current. Doug, you directed Journey to the Flames?
That's right.
Wow. I love that movie.
Oh, wow.
It was
All right.
so good. It was amazing. Thank you for sharing.
I have a goatee in it, but,
So, and also, Doug, I see you're the camp lead for the Black Rock Yearbook. Can you talk maybe a little bit about your connection to Burning Man and maybe how you got into Burning Man?
For me, I was in the 90s electronica scene. I went to film school, USC, and then I got out of film school and started making docs. But I started hanging out in this electronica scene, or the rave scene, as they used to call it. And I thought, I should probably shoot some of this, because so I started shooting a lot of parties and such, and then going to Moon Tribes and shooting a lot of it. Became rearranged to Moon Tribe, and then the Moon Tribers went to Burning Man, and then I sort of followed some of them there. And that was in '98 that I first went to Burning Man. I've been going ever since, doing mutant vehicles sometimes, or I landed on co-lead of Black Rock Yearbook, which is a photography-heavy camp, probably the largest photo project in Burning Man history, since we've been doing it since '07. Shoot over 1,000 people every year when it's going on. And by the way, in BRCVR, there's a really, really great Black Rock Yearbook world with photos all over it of burners.
Real photos that you've taken on Playa that are integrated into the... See, I love
4 years of Black Rock Yearbook in there, laid out on these walls.
I love that about BRCVR, how you can kind of connect the real world burn to the digital realm. That's really cool. What's your favorite aspect of Burning Man? What is it that resonates with you?
For me, it was always the random moments that you're walking around, and it's the synchronicity that happens, and also this that, like you were saying, you met a new person, you went on an adventure with them, and there's nothing more fun than meeting some great new people. Just by the fact that they're at Burning Man, you just know that statistically they're going to be in some alignment with your interests so that you're going to be, enjoying their company. I was just on the playa just now before we got on this call, and the virtual playa, and there were people popping in and moving around and look at that, and I was like, there's activity. Because when we were making all this stuff, we're alone in these worlds, but now there's all these people everywhere, and I just want to go up and talk to them all, but I don't have time.
I did a talk this morning. We did a podcast in Videogasm Camp, and
we love those guys.
They're great. And before we did that talk, I walked along Esplanade, and there were maybe 10 or 20 people speaking a variety of different languages. And that was early in the morning from where I'm at. And I just didn't expect to see anybody you don't know. And all of a sudden, there's just a bunch of people that you can talk to and share an experience with. And it's really special.
I love coming on the playa early in the morning because it's evening for our EU burners, or it's, late night for our Asian Pacific burners and community members. And so when you come on at like 5 or 6 in the morning, you do get like this whole other time zone coming in. And if you come in at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll get the Australian and the New Zealanders. And so you get to hear like these different voices in these different languages during different times of the day. And BRCVR sort of removes those time zone barriers. You have access to everyone globally pretty much around the clock. And I truly, truly love that.
It's crazy. I was having my morning coffee, and I'm pretty sure some folks on the other end were finishing their evening. It sounded like, having a good time in BRCVR. What a cool thing to be able to bring all these people together. Athena, for the people who didn't catch our previous podcast that we did together, can you talk a little bit about your background and, again, kind of touch on how you got into Burning Man?
Sure. I started my relationship with Los Angeles as an actress and a model. I moved out to Los Angeles in 96 from Texas. Doug is also from Texas, coincidentally. And through the art scene, I was figure modeling and working with artists all over LA, all over the United States. And through that scene, I also found Moon Tribe. And through Moon Tribe, I followed some people out to Burning Man. And my first year was 99. And then I just kept going every year after year after year and fell in love with it. So much so, like my first experience at Burning Man was being kidnapped on an art car. Not actually kidnapped, but like we had just parked the car. I had gotten out of the car. We were unloading the trunk. I was there with a friend of mine. And this art car comes driving down the street that looks like a Viking ship. And all these people were painted from head to toe in gold. And they were screaming, "Raise the men, raise the men," in this big boisterous chant. And I was awed by it. I was like, oh my God, look at that. And this guy put his hand out and he goes, "Come with us." And I reached up and he just grabbed my arm and picked me up and pulled me on the ship, and off I go. And I look back and there's my buddy John. And I'm just like, bye. I have no idea where I parked. I have no idea where I am. This is the first 5 minutes of me being on the dust. It took me 4 days to figure out where my camp was. And the city wasn't actually that big back then. It was only went to D Street. Now we go back to L Street. But still, it was like this crazy experience where I go out to the man on this art car and there's all these people out there. And that was back when the man was face down on the playa with all these ropes off of him and Egyptian slave style. We're all on these ropes trying to slowly raise this man. It was cantilevered in a really horrible way. And why didn't somebody just hire a crane? But we didn't do it like that back then. Yeah, it was crazy.
All of that sounds sketchy outside of the context of Burning Man.
It's sketchy in the context of Burning Man.
Also, fair point.
We actually have a world called Safety Third, one of our hub worlds, because we thought we'd nod to that.
That was my first 5 minutes on the playa. And then I spent 4 days wandering around just helping people set up art and helping people set up their camp, kind of looking for my own camp. And when I got back to LA, I just looked for ways that I could get more involved. And in 2002, I started producing an event called the LA Decompression Festival, which is an LA burner festival, and did that for 15 years, became a regional contact for Los Angeles to Burning Man, kind of like a Burning Man ambassador. And I've been teaching the principles and bringing people into the community since that moment that I launched myself into Burning Man.
If I didn't know better, I would say this sounds like a cult, but I've been, and I know it's not, which is surprising based on how we're talking about it.
Well, my favorite one is Stuart Mangrum likes to say we put cult back in culture.
All right, let's jump back to 2020. What was your perspective of the 2020 burn in BRCVR? What was your perspective of that experience, and what did you learn?
Well, and I think it's kind of a little bit happening again this year. Sometimes when you're running an event, you're not really at the event. When the lead up to the event's going on, you're not really aware of the outside world. So we were in the box, or at least I was, and I have been in the box still. I haven't actually gone out to party yet. I hope to do that soon. But I was just kind of surprised. I think surprised at how the community jumped in and brought it. I wasn't mentally ready for that and expected that. And then this year, sort of same thing again, because I was like, oh, maybe everyone's going out to an event or maybe no one's around. But now we're just seeing a lot of activity on Play, and I'm really happy that people are coming back again. You never know, how people are going to be year to year. You can't assume because people did it last year, they're going to do it this year. So there's just a lot of uncertainty. But I really was surprised at how much people loved it and brought it. We almost got used to the immersion. We got used to hanging out together, as the team. But when you strap on a VR headset, especially, and go into these worlds and you're hanging out with your friends, it's striking how immersive it is. And I think that you seeing it on a 2D screen or seeing a video of it online is not very close to the experience of actually having a VR headset on. And I think the surprise that people had of being on Playa and in a VR headset was the best part.
Athena, what about you? What were your thoughts on last year's burn?
Last year, we were just trying to bring the community together, and we didn't know what to expect. We had like, it wasn't like a running bet because there was no actual betting going on, but it was sort of like this guess, like, how many people do you think are going to come? And Doug was like, well, we'd be happy if there was like 1,000 people that showed up. And I was like, I'd be happy if 10,000 people showed up, but maybe not. My first year that I went to Burning Man, we had like 10, 12,000 people. So I was like, maybe it'll be like that. And we had almost 13,000 unique users and 90,000 joins. So it was like they kept coming back over and over and over and over and over again and re-ringing the bell. And that was really remarkable and far exceeded our expectations. And then after the event, we added up how many hours of entertainment we had, how many hours of programming, how many events were going on, how many camps were involved. And of course, when we opened the gates, we had a certain number of portals and a certain number of camps participating. And by the time the event was over, we had like so many more because we were constantly processing. And we're doing that again this year. A lot of people, this is how Burning Man is. When you go to the Black Rock City, when you go to the event, and the gates opened on Sunday, not everyone's set up. There were windstorms, it was hot, there was a marriage that had to fall apart, and then they had to come back together, and then finally they're going to build their art. And there was a whole bunch of psychology that was involved. And so some art doesn't get done until Wednesday or Thursday. There's certain things that you don't get to explore until Friday. And last year, we really tried to get everything done by a certain time, and it just wasn't going to happen, and that caused a lot of stress. And this year, we realized, no, wait a minute, this is like the Black Rock Desert in that way, in that we don't have to have everything complete by Sunday. There will be stuff that comes out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's very much what's going on this year. Not without the stress of let's get it all done by gates, but it's still rolling out that way. So people can come on Monday, and when they come back on Thursday, there's going to be different stuff. There's going to be worlds that have gotten approved. There's going to be art that finally got optimized. There's going to be portals that weren't placed before, and all that stuff is going to slowly roll out over time. Last year, we had just over 1,500 hours of programming. We have already exceeded 3,000 hours of programming in our What, Where, When.
If you go into AltSpace, they added a brilliant new feature, and you go to the festival feature and you hit info, the whole world of BRCVR is contained in a bubble. So you can now scroll through only the BRCVR worlds and only the BRCVR events And once you start scrolling through our event pages, it's like 40 of them. You're just like, wow, there's a talk, there's a tarot card reading, there's a dance, there's a couple DJs I want to see, there's a talk on. So you sort of just start seeing in the concentrated way, all the stuff going on. And I was just like, we have 3 or 4 more worlds we still have to add. And I'm like, are you not entertained? We have 30 worlds and we have over 100 other worlds that people... And I'm just like, this is an insanely large festival for under any circumstances. And I'm just like, maybe I don't have to stress about doing so much. I'm like, I still got to get these 3 worlds out. I still got to get Center Camp up, that kind of thing.
I noticed some things that were not active yet, and as a user of BRCVR and Altspace, I'm excited to see those things. So it's going to keep me checking back in. Mm-hmm. And it is true to form with Burning Man that it's an ever-evolving process throughout the entirety of the event, pretty much. I mean, I've seen art presented on the final day, you know, and that was supposed to be done a week before the burn.
Always happens. Our goal this year was to 2.0 everything. 2.0 Center Camp, 2.0 everything that was an internal world, and then add these new hub worlds, which was, we were really sad last year because people would send us this beautiful art and it was very high poly, and we didn't have a place to put it. We only needed the low poly or their camp. And if you put that art in a solo camp, it's like, boom. That's why we had a lot of worlds last year. Some flowers in a piece of, you pop in, you're like, oh, there's a flower. Okay, let's go somewhere else. But
it's so really cool flower, but it's all
cool flower, but 30 seconds of enjoyment. So what we realized was we needed to create a context for groupings of high poly art. So every time somebody sent us high poly things, I put them in these hubs, and so that they're just like Burning Man. You walk over here, you check out the flower, you go to the bar, you go battle in Thunderdome, or maybe you're going to go to skate, and so you're just sort of walking around to various things in a world to give you that more of that feeling. And so far, they're my favorite thing in BRCVR this year. These hub worlds are just really fun to hang out in.
So I love the zones. And when you first spawn onto the playa, you'll see all these archways. And there's portals inside the archways. And those are the zones of the great unknown. The theme this year for Burning Man is the great unknown. And those are those zones. So they're going to feel like the Burning Man event. They're going to feel like the Black Rock Desert, but like one's the Esplanade zone. And so you really feel like you're out on the Esplanade. But then you go into like Safety Third and you're like, yeah, this is all the dangerous shit on Playa. But it's not designed to look like a block at Burning Man. It's its own entity. So we started really, to Doug's brilliance, he realized that we needed to start designing worlds specifically for VR. We can't just make everything be exactly like Burning Man because it doesn't work in VR. So that whole process is going to become the direction that we go in the future. The other thing I'm super excited about for this particular year is that we have the Museum of the Man and the Temple Museum. So you can go visit your first man or your favorite man or that one that resonated with you or the one that you got engaged at or whatever. All the men are there. And then the 20 years of temple. Everybody has the temple that they engaged with, that they released at, that they let go of, and they're all resurrected. You can visit them all in their full, beautiful glory, modeled by various different people. Yeah. It's really gorgeous.
All the temples, and they're in there's 2 or 3 in each world because they're so huge. So that's going on. And then there's this whole other thing going on later in the week, which is that we shot a bunch of people in Los Angeles against a green screen to perform on a stage as themselves. We set up a green screen in downtown LA, and we just shot some people. So we got to organize all that too. And we shot one very, 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 very special one that I'm going to let Athena tell you about.
Really? We're going to leak it?
No, let's not leak it. Let's not tell him. Wait. Yeah, let's do it. No, let's do it.
Let's do it? No?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Because if it doesn't happen, then we're screwed. But go ahead.
I love it.
We'll tell him to cut it out.
You just edit the... very, very complicated instrument to bring into VR. But very close to my heart was 2011 at the Temple of Transition. I got to see William Close perform with the Earth Harp, and he strung it across the temple. And I laid in the dust on my back underneath those lines and melted into the playa. Yeah, right? Were you there?
That was my first temple, and yes, I have goosebumps. I'm just showing that on the camera right now. It was a magnificent temple with all those towers, and that experience with the Earth Harp.
Would you like to experience that again?
I'd be into that big time.
So on Sunday, before the temple burns, probably around 6:30ish, we are going to present William Close and the Earth Harp at the Temple of Transition in BRCVR.
Wow.
We very complicated to get a green screen around that instrument, and then even more complicated, and this is 100% on Doug's shoulders.
I got nothing to do.
VR in a way to where the entire illusion works.
That sounds spectacular. I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. And it's extra special for me because that temple specifically, just that was the one that resonated with me. So that's amazing that you guys are going to bring that experience forth. So this is like turning into like Burning Man where you can't see everything. This is getting to that point. And
it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already missing.
You have 216 hours in a 9-day period of time. First of all, Burning Man is normally 8 days. We're 9 days. We were 8 days last year. Now we're 9 days. And even then, we started on Friday. So we're like 9, 10, 11, 12 days long. And you only get a certain number of hours. You get like 216 hours in a 9-day period of time. And we have over 3,000. So just forget it. Just forget it. It's not possible.
Pick and choose, just like the real burn, huh? I mean, you've got to feel good, though, that you're bringing that much content forward. That's another way that it's kind of true to the experience.
And just true to the experience, you know how like you get the what, where, when, and you go through it and you pick the things you want to go to. So you can do that on the festival feature in the AltSpace platform. On the browser, you can open up the festival feature. Right. It's in your More menu, and you can find everything and click the little I and click RSVP that you're interested. And an hour before, the platform will send you an email to remind you of the thing that you are going to miss anyway.
It's really great. I know every event I get finished with, there's like 20 emails from other events, but it's really great how it reminds you and gives you that nudge. And then on top of that, you guys have just done such a wonderful job curating this experience with the emails that are coming out daily, the rainstorm that happened on the digital playa. I thought that was really a cute idea. Yeah. It's been really cool to be a part of. I was going to ask you if at any point this goes into autopilot or if it's just constant attention. But I feel like you may have already kind of addressed that. Do you think, though, it'll get to a point where you can kind of coast along and enjoy this experience?
We have a team, an amazing volunteer team that is doing whatever they can to put processes in place to help automate the process. But right now, everything, the website's getting updated manually. AltSpace is getting updated manually. We scrape data from the AltSpace, but we still have to go through it. So it's still a lot of eyeballs and a lot of hands and a lot of checks and balances and making sure everything's working. The festival feature is brand new, so even AltSpace has to update it manually. Where they're testing. Burning Man's always been the proving ground of new technology, and now BRCVR is the proving ground of new technology.
I have to say, AltSpace this is not a shot at AltSpace at all. In fact, I love it. But it is a sort of a ghost town when the Burning Man event isn't existing. It seems that there are not a ton of folks on there. But then this event comes around, and all of a sudden at 6 a.m, you're standing next to 20 people in a room. I think that's strange.
I mean, in a way, we're a big fish in a smaller pond on this platform, but the platform is now under a massive transformation to become a sort of a world-class events platform. So they're changing it so quickly. We're holding on to the tail of this thing. There's all that festival feature they just turned on for us to test.
I can't wait to check that out on Thursday.
On Thursday. They literally were like, hey, so can you put a whole bunch of people on this so we can test it out and try to break it on Thursday? And I was just like, but like we'll notice something. We'll be like, hey, it would be really great if we could do this. And it would be really great if we could do that. And they're right there on it. They're listening to everything we have to say. They're taking all of our suggestions. They're adjusting. And for a platform of their size, for a company like Microsoft, they are shifting and adjusting in real time. And it is an honor to work with a company like that.
It feels like a win-win for both sides because they get their systems tested, they get feedback, and they're responsive to you guys to help host this situation. What is your perspective of the quote renegade burn that is going to be unfolding this week, and any predictions on how you guys think that's going to play out? And do you have friends that are going?
A lot of people going to the renegade burn. The renegade burn to me sounds better on paper. What I love about Burning Man is going out and seeing the art. What I don't love about Burning Man is just hanging out in the desert. So if you remove the Burning Man and just give me the desert, it's probably not quite as appealing to me. So I'm really, also, I don't like going to the bathroom in buckets. What I think is going to happen is that the entire budget of the police department is going to be made up in this Christmas time ticket giving orgy that's going to happen up there. They're going to give you a ticket, your tires at 25 PSI. I think we're going to have to give you a ticket for that. And we're going to search your car. I think they're just going to have, also one of our teammates lives in Gerlach. And so we're constantly getting updates in Gerlach, and the air quality in Gerlach has been atrocious because of the fires. And there was even talk of the BLM kiboshing the whole thing because of these kind of things. So I don't really know what's happened, but we'll find out afterwards. There's
areas of Lake Tahoe that are being evacuated right now.
I was just there last week. We rented a house right on South Lake Tahoe, and the house that we rented, that area is under a evacuation warning at current, and I've got it on my TV. We're watching cars stream out of Tahoe. It's a very special place for my wife and I. And I can only imagine what the air quality would be like in the desert, given the close proximity and the wind direction of that.
It's been, someone sent me a picture from a few weeks ago that was orange outside of Gerlach.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do know quite a number of people that are going out there for rogue burn, which I like to call rug burn. And but the people that I know that are going out there with a specific purpose. They're going out there to make sure that everyone is abiding by the principles still, that are honoring our culture and our way of life, and protecting the delicate fabric of the environment of the Black Rock Desert. I have a friend of mine that's going out there. He's got a little golf cart art car. He's already cleared it with BLM that he's allowed to go out there. He's got a trailer and 150 empty 50-gallon garbage bags. And he's just, if he sees trash, he's going to pick it up. He's going to do real-time playa resto. He's got giant bags of kitty litter and shovels. So if people poop on the playa, he's planning on picking all that up with masks and hazmat suits and everything. I have another friend of mine that's normally a Black Rock Ranger and works on medical. He's a first responder, and he's going out there with his kit. So if somebody needs medical attendance, he can assist in that moment in time. So there are amazing burners that are going out there just to help, because that's what burners do. We help. We're there for immediacy. So, but then I also know burners who are going out there, they're like, I can finally bring my guns. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the people driving around, and I think of all of the things that keep Burning Man safe. And then I think about all of those things being removed from the equation, and the risk and liability that this has to the possibly even the future of the event itself. And I think that a lot of the folks that are going out there are likely will not be burners. These are just folks who are going to be heading 100%. Out there.
And, they do have 4th of July, so there are other events out there. But this one has a little bit of a a certain crowd outside of the burners being attracted to it that concerns me. We've heard stories of people going, I'm not going to Black Rock Desert, I'm going to Burning Man. There's no Burning Man. So it's a little bit of some concerning things. COVID is receding and surging at the same time. I mean, in the sense that in the minds of a lot of people, it's receding and they're going out and partying more, but then it's surging at the same time. And that's the COVID factor there.
That said, I have a friend who works at Renown in Reno, and that hospital is at capacity. and diverting patients. So that would be, I believe, the main hospital folks would be going to from Gerlach if they're airlifted or anything like that.
Airlifted.
So, you know, I mean, what?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
it's going to happen because Burning Man arranges for a safe place for those helicopters to come in and out of.
The other thing is, I believe that the Tahoe Hospital has been evacuated and those patients have been relocated, or they're diverting them to Renown also. So I mean, this doesn't add up.
And also, you know, and it's also not just Burning Man, but, you know, the question becomes like, well, there's a lot of Labor Day events going on. Like, how many people are going to be out for Labor Day events? So a lot of them are getting canceled. Some of them are not. So a lot of people are coming in early in the week. There's a crowd that's going to come into BRCVR early and then go on vacation. And then the last thing I'll say, which is really weird to me, is that when I was going into Burning Man 2005, I remember I was in the gas station in Reno, and I was listening to on my phone, I was listening to the radio, and they were going to be evacuating New Orleans. And I remember coming out of the bathroom saying, they can evacuate a whole city. Like, you know, I was just like, they're not really going to. And I went to Burning Man, and Katrina happened, and I'm having a deja vu here with the same exact thing happening again, which is where the burner help organizations were spawned out of the Katrina.
Burners Without Borders,
Burners
right?
Without Borders.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm having this flashback where last year I get stuck at a festival. I was at the tribal gathering in Panama when the pandemic hit. And
I saw you in a documentary.
On Vice, yeah. And so here I am at a music festival, just having a good time, doing a proof of concept actually for a different television show. And we didn't know what was going on because when you're at a festival, you don't have good internet, you're in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, the military moves in on the last day of the festival. I mean, the festival is done and everyone's packing up and leaving, and the military moves in, and it's Panamanian military. So it's U.S. uniforms and with the Panamanian flag and U.S. guns. And so everything, it looked like a U.S. invasion, but everyone was speaking Spanish, and there was a Panamanian flag instead of a U.S. flag. And they all move in, and it was creepy. And we're, you know, coming down from a festival high and all in love with each other in peace and wonderful namaste to you all. And then the beaches are blocked off, and there's men with guns and telling us we can't leave. And I was stuck in this festival for another week because of COVID. They wanted to make sure nobody at the festival had COVID before they even let us out. But there wasn't testing, and all they could do was check our temperature, and that now we know doesn't do anything, maybe, but not really. And they didn't want to let us out into Panama. So now I'm looking at this thing going on at Burning Man, thinking to myself, if one person out there tests positive for COVID or gets sick, they could quarantine all these people in the middle of the desert.
Even worse, it will likely happen just based on the numbers. Several people will get COVID, and they won't quarantine anyone. And then the rest of society gets to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, those are pretty unsanitary conditions if you don't have the right pumping and water and ice. It's all really important things that don't just manifest themselves in the desert.
Having said that, we did want to, and we do have people going out there that may try to send video updates from out there. So we will hopefully get some. I'm curious to see how it's going on my TV screen in the safety of my home.
Yeah, I'm watching some social media. I'm watching some social media outlets that are posting from out there. And the whole time I get to think about how I have a flush toilet and how amazing that is relative to a bucket.
Oh, I love BRCVR because I can literally have that playa experience and hanging out with people, new friends and old friends, and see exceptional art. Oh my God, the art this year is mind-blowing. And it was mind-blowing last year. It's more mind-blowing this year. And it's stuff that you could never build at Burning Man. You could never build these things. We got physics. So, you know.
And some of these things are older pieces of art that won't ever exist again except for in the digital space because they've already been burnt to the fucking ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I love BRCVR because I can be safe and COVID-free. And, you know, my physical body gets to be in a safe place while my mental body gets to go on a wander.
Leave us today with what you think the future of BRCVR will be.
I think that BRCVR, you know, I keep saying needs to survive a post-COVID time. It needs to, right now it's under the context of COVID, and it will, there's only so many people that can go to Burning Man, so there's going to be people all over the world that they'll jack into Burning Man through BRCVR, and so the future is hybrid events. So we were scheming this year, but we're going to scheme hardcore next year on how to combine the Playa with BRCVR, beaming content. That could be hitting a button in BRCVR and having a flame effect go off on Playa. That could be watching a Mind Warrior set as a skybox in VR. So there's a lot of different ideas we're scheming about how to make the event more hybrid. And that could be us renting a house in Reno and running the operation out of there,
It could also involve taking a satellite truck out to the Playa to make sure that we have a steady stream, because in order to stream content, we probably need a satellite truck. We don't have smooth internet out there yet. Oh, and so many people are talking about doing streams from the Playa this year. And I'm like, you do realize Burning Man provides Wi-Fi. Like, it's not normally out there.
Google and Apple aren't going to be there, so you can't piggyback off of their networks.
Yeah, and there's got to be a way to combine these events without making it a TV show. So to make it immersive and make it so you're there as an avatar, but also at the same time not try to make it evasive, like the outside world's coming in. So it's going to be that balance of of those things, because there's already a lot of media at Burning Man, and a lot of people are attached to the concept that you should be disconnected from society when you're Burning Man. But that went by the wayside a long time ago. That notion is not realistic in our connected world. And also, Burning Man is in a way a tech futuristic event with the latest lasers and the drone shows and the latest technology being shown. So the idea that you would have the latest technology, but then also be disconnected, I think it's just because people just don't want more Instagram photos, and the concern is that an Instagram star is going to go out there, take some great photos, and then the crowd is not aware of the 10 principles or understand what Burning Man's about. It's going to show up for the rave or show up because their favorite Instagram artist is there. And that's actually a really valid concern. But we do know that Instagram artists don't tend to go into VR, so a lot of Instagram influencers aren't in VR, so we're okay so far.
We're safe in that zone.
We're safe from that zone.
Wonderful.
I'm very excited about the future possibilities of this technology and how it can bring the global community together. That you can come together physically, you can come together digitally, physically and digitally. These hybrid events are truly the future. We're always going to be limited by location-based audience size, and the digital takes away that limitation so that we can do physical and digital, and that is what I'm hopeful for, and that is what I'm most excited about.
There are people on our team we've never met in real life, and they're from all over the world. A guy in Germany, a gentleman in Israel, even people in the United States. We've never met them. So some of them we're slowly checking off and met them in real life. But a lot of times we really only know them as we see them on Zoom calls sometimes, but really know them as their cartoon character version.
I just recently met one of our team members for the very first time, and we only knew each other as avatars or on Zoom. And I went to go give him a hug, and he's like, "You're so tiny." I'm like 5 feet tall, and nobody realizes I'm like this big personality, but nobody realizes I'm like this tiny person.
I've never heard of that tiny person with big personality syndrome. I think they have a name for that.
During my
for everything.
During my talk today at Videogasm, there was a gentleman from Germany, a gentleman from England, and a gentleman from China. And there were only 20 or 30 people in that room. So you are bringing together all these people and creating such a cool experience and giving me something to do this Burn Week so that I don't have to think about being elsewhere. So thank you so much for all the work that you've done. And we should probably catch up again sometime. I feel like...
Come on in and we'll hang out in VR.
I'd love that. And myself and the gentleman I met from the radio station are going to be on there live on air doing interviews and stuff. So maybe we'll catch up with you guys at some point.
Oh, that would be great. I would love that.
Thank you for listening to Galaxy Tenants. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. For early access to episodes and exclusive content, check us out on Patreon. Also, if you'd like to communicate with us, send an email to galaxytenants@gmail.com or leave a voicemail on the Galaxy Tenants hotline at 303-550-2065.